he is a character who could have been written off and you wouldn't have batted an eyelash, and that's that. But instead they spent a lot of time delving into his character.
Michael Zegen and Luke Kirby from Marvelous with Maisel. It's so great to talk to you guys.
Yeah, likewise.
Congrats on season 4.
Thank you.
And Michael, I got to tell you, I really love the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit behind you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Well, I'll start with you, Michael.
I like the Mandalorian behind you.
Oh, thank you. It would have been kind of easy for Amy Sherman Palladino to leave Joel behind after he left Midge, but she hasn't. Has it been surprising for you to see how she can keep Joel around in the story to focus on his own struggles while she's, struggling herself?
I mean, I think that's what makes this so interesting. Yes, when I first read the pilot, I honestly thought that it was a one-off. That's one and done, and maybe you never see him again. But then I looked at the character breakdown and said he was a series regular, so that made me want the part only that much more. But yeah, I just find that so interesting because he is a character who could have been written off and you wouldn't have batted an eyelash, and that's that. But instead they spent a lot of time delving into his character and watching him grow and watching him evolve and watching his relationship with Midge evolve. And I think it's almost like just as important an aspect of the show and to Midge as comedy is.
And Luke, Lenny Bruce is kind of also is another character that you didn't really expect to come in as often as he has.
Mm-hmm.
Has it been difficult to play the one fictionalized version of a real person on this show?
For the most part, no. It's been more fun than anything else. I mean, I think that Amy and Dan have done a really good job at kind of balancing out how we kind of measure that responsibility. I think that they do feel kind of duty bound to the historic Lenny Bruce's legacy, and at the same time, it's a great fortune to be sort of freed of having to kind of be too specific. Certainly in the way that you would with a biopic. In terms of timeline and the specificities around getting everything down pat. So that's been kind of just a lucky privilege to not have to adhere to that so strictly. But at the same time, I think that we've kind of tried to maintain, certainly in the routines that I do, those are always verbatim from live performances that Lenny Bruce did. And I know that their intention with him was never to, if he was ever going to be on the stage doing stand-up, that he would never be performing something that they wrote.
Mm-hmm.
That it was always something that Lenny Bruce had performed. And so I think that they've done a good job at sort of balancing that out. I feel lucky for it.
And you also just came off of playing Ted Bundy. Was it exciting to get back to playing Lenny Bruce? Because it's a little bit of a lighter character than Ted Bundy.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. I mean, this job on Maisel is it's such a thrill to participate in for so many reasons. I mean, setting Lenny Bruce aside for a second, the production is just really, really rich. It's bold. It's massive. We're in New York City. It's the city we live in. Amy and Dan are insanely hardworking people, who I think expect the same in kind from everybody on board. And so every season, the cast and the crew is sort of, given this, duty to kind of raise their bar, and it's always just a pleasure. It's just such an exciting place to come, and most certainly is a little bit lighter in fare.
Yeah. Michael, is it interesting that Joel is still in show business in some way? That he dreamed of being in show business, and now he's in show business now as a club owner. Why do you think Joel has a hard time trying to find a different route to success?
Well, I mean, it's not always so cut and dry. I think me personally, Michael, I grew up knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I've wanted to be an actor since I was 5 years old, but I have friends who are my age who still don't know what they want. So I think that that's real. That's, and I wouldn't say he's having a hard time finding it. I think he found it. I mean, he clearly, it took him a few tries, but he found it. And I think originally he had his sights set on being a stand-up comedian. Whether that was a realistic goal of his, that remains to be seen, because you kind of have to write your own material at some point. But he clearly, it didn't work out, but he still, wanted to be a part of that world. And I think that that's also so real. He found another job in a different kind of area. I had a friend who was an actor who became an agent, or I had a friend who was an actor who became a acting teacher. I think that that's real. That's what happens. If something doesn't work out, you find something else, perhaps kind of parallel to that world that brings you the same kind of joy.
And we did meet Stephanie Hsu's character in season 3.
Stephanie Hsu, yeah.
Hsu. And can we expect to see that relationship continue to blossom in season 4?
She will be in season 4. Whether or not that relationship blossoms remains to be seen. But yeah, she'll be there.
I thought it was interesting your Joel's relationship with the characters in Chinatown. It was sort of fun. How was it really fun to sort of put that together? How Joel would interact with those characters? Oh
yeah, I guess that goes back to the first episode of last season, and when I read that, it just looked like it was going to be so much fun, and then actually filming that first scene where we discover, they're down there. They were, going nuts with all the gambling and everything. I mean, it's just it brought a new element to Joel's storyline, and I loved it. I thought it's hilarious.
Was it impressive in the first episode? You're in this whole like recreation of 1950s Coney Island. Was that impressive to see how the production was able to pull that off?
It's always impressive. Anything they do is impressive. But yeah, it was an impressive, sure, but at the same time, it's like there was no question they were going to do it, and they were going to do it right. But it's at the same time, it was also like cold. It's supposed to be like, it was supposed to be summer, and I think we filmed it. I think at the beginning of April. I could be wrong. Maybe it's the beginning of May. Regardless, it was actually like very cold. But you still had, and that's the beauty of Maisel. You still had these hundreds of extras. Everybody's dressed, in perfect 1960s garb, and you're on set, and you just feel like you're in that time period because everybody else is.
It's been wonderful talking to you. Thanks for putting up with the camera.
Yeah, no problem.
Earlier. So wish you the best of luck on season 4, and thanks a lot for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.